Emily adjusted the strap of her backpack as she slowly walked through the crowded hallways of Lincoln High. The sound of laughter echoed against the walls, each giggle cutting into her like a sharp reminder of her isolation. She was different, not by choice, but by circumstance. Life had placed her on a path that few could understand. Her gaze remained fixed on the floor, as though avoiding eye contact might make her invisible. But deep down, she knew there was no hiding. That day began as usual. Emily sat at her usual spot in the back corner of the classroom, near the window, where she could watch the trees sway in the breeze. The outside world seemed free, so unlike her own. As the teacher wrote equations on the board, whispers began to grow louder. Amanda, the most popular girl in class, leaned over to her group of friends, exchanging sly smirks. Emily didn't need to hear the words to know she was the subject. "Hey, Emily," Amanda called, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Ever heard of modern hairstyles? You could really use some inspiration." The room erupted in laughter. Emily gripped the edge of her desk tightly, willing herself to stay composed. But the heat creeping into her cheeks betrayed her. At lunchtime, Emily found her usual refuge at a table tucked away in the farthest corner of the cafeteria. Here, she could eat in peace, away from prying eyes and cutting remarks. But today, Amanda and her entourage decided that wasn't acceptable. Amanda strutted over, the click of her heels against the tiled floor ringing out like a warning. "Why do you always hide, Emily? Got some dirty little secret?" she teased, her smile dripping with mockery. Before Emily could respond, Amanda snatched a notebook off the table and tossed it to the ground. "Oops, slipped right out of my hand," Amanda said with an exaggerated laugh. Emily bent down to pick up the notebook, her face burning with shame. She fought back tears, determined not to give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. By the time she sat back up, the girls were gone, but the silence in the cafeteria was suffocating. It felt as though every pair of eyes was on her. That afternoon on her walk home, Emily pulled out her headphones and played her favorite song, hoping the music would drown out the echoes of humiliation. The quiet streets of New Jersey felt like a reprieve, and she knew that in a few minutes she'd be back in the one place that felt safe, her home. When she stepped through the door, Emily was greeted by the cheerful laughter of her younger sister, Lily. At only 10 years old, Lily radiated energy, even in the midst of the battle she was fighting. Seeing her sister's bald head covered by a colorful scarf always reminded Emily why she endured it all. "Emily, look what I drew," Lily exclaimed, holding up a paper filled with bright, messy scribbles. Emily smiled and joined her sister on the couch. "It's amazing, Lil. You're such an artist," she said warmly. They laughed together, and for a moment, the weight of the day melted away. Every hardship Emily faced, every tear she swallowed, was for Lily. It was for her that Emily had made the choice to shave her head months ago, stepping into her sister's shoes so she wouldn't feel alone in her fight against cancer. But there was only so much Emily could take. As she helped Lily color another drawing, her mind kept drifting back to what awaited her the next day. Amanda seemed relentless, determined to make her life unbearable, and Emily had no idea how much worse it could get. That evening, as she got ready for bed, Emily stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Carefully, she removed the wig that had become her shield, revealing her smooth, bare scalp. She stared at her reflection, searching for the strength she needed to keep going. But all she saw was a tired girl, burdened by a secret that no one seemed willing to understand. Deep down, Emily knew that staying silent wouldn't protect her forever. Someday, the truth would come out, and when that day arrived, she could only hope she'd be ready to face whatever came next. The day began like any other. Emily stared at her reflection in the mirror, adjusting the wig on her head with the precision of someone putting on a mask. She took a deep breath, once again hiding the truth that, for her, was both a shield and a burden, for herself and for Lily. "It's just another day," she whispered, trying to convince herself, though the heaviness in her chest told a different story. At school, the atmosphere felt more suffocating than ever. The hallways buzzed with lively chatter, but to Emily, it was just background noise, pierced occasionally by the taunts that always seemed to find her. She had barely stepped into the classroom when Amanda appeared, wearing that familiar, calculated smile that Emily had learned to dread. "Hey, Emily!" Amanda called out, her tone syrupy and insincere. Emily pretended not to hear, but Amanda was not one to let her escape. "We were just thinking," she continued, louder now. "Have you ever heard of a spa day? It'd be perfect for you." Laughter erupted around the room, and Emily felt the flush rise in her cheeks as she sank into her chair. The teacher entered, temporarily halting the humiliation, but Emily knew it was just a reprieve. Throughout the lesson, she felt the stares directed at her, each one cutting through her focus like a blade. Amanda thrived on others' discomfort, and Emily was her favorite target. During the break, Emily retreated to the restroom, seeking solace. She locked herself in a stall, taking deep, shaky breaths to hold back the tears threatening to spill. "You're strong," she murmured to herself, though the words rang hollow. She knew Lily needed her to be strong, that she couldn't falter, but at that moment, the weight of the bullying felt crushing. Outside, the torment continued. Amanda, now flanked by two of her friends, was waiting in the hallway near the restroom. When Emily finally emerged, the trio blocked her path. "You know, Emily," Amanda began, her voice feigning thoughtfulness, "you hide so much. Is there something you don't want us to see?" Emily tried to brush past them without a word, but Amanda reached out, grabbing the strap of her backpack. "No need to run. We're just trying to help," she said, her smile razor-sharp. Then Amanda did the unthinkable. In one swift motion, she yanked Emily's backpack, causing her to stumble and fall to her knees. Before Emily could react, Amanda took advantage of her vulnerable position and tugged at her wig, pulling it off in one quick, merciless gesture. The wig fell to the floor like a shattered secret, exposed for all to see. The hallway froze. For a moment, there was absolute silence. Then the laughter began. "I knew it," Amanda exclaimed, pointing at Emily. "She's bald. Oh my God, how pathetic." Amanda's friends erupted into laughter, joined by other voices in the crowd. Emily felt the ground give way beneath her. She scrambled to her feet, snatched the wig from the floor, and ran down the hallway, the cruel words echoing behind her like daggers. Her heart pounded wildly as tears finally came, hot and uncontrollable. She ran to the end of the corridor and slipped into the maintenance room, knowing it was the one place no one would think to look. Sitting on the floor, clutching the wig to her chest, Emily sobbed. Images of Lily flashed in her mind. Her sister's bright smile when Emily had first shaved her head. "Now we're twins, Lil," she had said, trying to cheer her sister up after a grueling chemotherapy session. Back then, the decision had felt empowering. Now, it seemed like another reason for people to tear her down. Emily stayed hidden until the bell rang, signaling the end of the school day. She waited until the halls emptied before leaving, her eyes swollen and her throat tight. The walk home had never felt so long. When she arrived, Lily was on the couch, watching cartoons. "You're late," her sister said with a cheerful grin, turning to look at her. Emily forced a smile in return, guilt twisting in her chest. How could she tell Lily that the sacrifice she had made for her had become a source of unbearable pain? "I just had a rough day," Emily replied, masking her tears. She sat beside Lily and pulled her into a tight hug. "But nothing I can't handle." That night, after Lily was asleep, Emily sat on her bed, holding the wig in her hands. She knew that from that day forward, things would never be the same. Amanda had taken her cruelty to a whole new level, and Emily had no idea how she would face the next day. But somehow, she had to find a way. For Lily, for herself. The next morning, Emily hesitated before getting out of bed. The clock read 6:45, but the thought of facing another day at school felt unbearable. The incident from the previous day weighed heavily on her mind, and every time she closed her eyes, she could hear the echoes of laughter reverberating through the hallways. Finally, she forced herself to rise and face the mirror, as she did every morning. Her trembling fingers adjusted the wig, carefully avoiding her own gaze. "You can do this," she whispered, more to convince herself than as a statement of truth. The walk to school was silent. Usually, Emily felt invisible on the busy streets of New Jersey, but today, it seemed as though everyone was staring at her, even if it was just a trick of her anxious mind. When she entered the building, she kept her hood pulled over her head, hoping to evade glances and whispers. However, it only took a few minutes in the hallways for her hope to shatter. "Look who it is," the baldy, Amanda taunted, leaning casually against her locker as her friends burst into laughter. The word hit Emily like a blow, and her cheeks burned with shame. She quickened her pace toward the classroom, trying to block out the snickers and stares she knew were directed at her. In science class, the teacher was explaining something about chemical reactions, but Emily couldn't focus. She felt Amanda's eyes boring into her, as though planning something even worse. When the bell finally rang for lunch, Emily stood up quickly, hoping to avoid any confrontation. But Amanda was faster. "Hey, Emily," Amanda called, blocking the doorway. "We were thinking of hosting a fashion show. Want to show off your new look? I bet everyone would love it." Amanda's friends erupted into laughter as Emily kept her gaze fixed on the floor. "Leave her alone, Amanda," came a quiet voice from the back of the room. It was Sam, a quiet classmate who rarely involved himself in anything. "Oh, of course, the class hero," Amanda sneered, rolling her eyes. "Stay out of it, Sam. I wasn't talking to you." Emily took advantage of the distraction to slip past Amanda, but Sam's gesture stayed with her. As small as it was the first time anyone had stood up for her, even briefly. The rest of the day was no easier. At lunchtime, Emily decided to eat in the bathroom, as she sometimes did when the bullying became too much. Locked inside a stall, she listened to the voices of other girls coming and going. Some laughed, others whispered about her. Every word felt like a dagger, feeding her insecurity and deepening her loneliness. When Emily finally got home, she found Lily playing with her dolls on the living room rug. As always, the sight of her sister brought a mix of joy and sadness. Lily looked up at her with a beaming smile. "Emily, want to play with me?" Emily smiled back, sitting down beside her. "Of course. What are we doing today?" As they played, Emily felt her connection with Lily strengthen once again. Lily was her light in the darkness, the reason she endured everything. But even so, the fear lingered. How could she keep facing Amanda and the others? How long could she hold out before completely breaking down? Later that evening, as Emily worked on her homework, she heard a sound coming from Lily's room. She walked in to find her sister looking through an old photo album. "Look at this one," Lily said, pointing to a picture of Emily with long blonde hair, smiling as she held Lily in her arms. "I miss your hair." Emily swallowed hard. "I miss it too, Lil," she admitted, stroking her sister's head. "But you know what? I don't regret it. We're a team, remember?" Lily smiled and hugged her tightly. Yes, a team forever. That night, as Emily lay in bed, she reflected on her words. She didn't regret shaving her head, but that didn't make the bullying any less painful. She knew she had to find a way to protect herself without losing who she was. She didn't know how yet, but she was determined to keep fighting, no matter how impossible the battle seemed. As sleep finally began to claim her, one question lingered in her mind. Could Amanda ever understand what sacrifice truly meant? Or would she always be a source of cruelty? Emily knew the conflict between them was far from over, but something inside her was beginning to shift. Maybe, just maybe, She was stronger than she thought. Emily woke up the next day feeling like something had shifted. The usual weight she carried seemed a little lighter, as if Lily's words had planted a seed in her heart. Yet the fear remained, lurking in the corners of her mind, reminding her of the laughter, the stares, and the power Amanda wielded over her life. As she entered the school, Emily felt the eyes of others on her once again. The whispers were still there, the muffled laughter from the corners of the hallways. But for the first time, she tried to ignore them. Not because it hurt any less, but because she realized that if she let fear dictate her every step, Amanda would win. In history class, Amanda was especially provocative. Sitting a few desks ahead of Emily, she made a point of muttering small comments, just loud enough for those nearby to hear, but not so loud that the teacher would notice. "Baldy," Amanda said, giggling between her words. Each repetition made Emily's blood boil a little more. When class ended, Amanda, as usual, cornered Emily in the hallway. "Hey, Emily, I heard you're trying out a new summer look," Amanda said, flanked by her laughing friends. Emily stopped, turning to face Amanda for the first time in weeks. "Why do you do this?" Emily asked, her voice low but steady. Amanda laughed, feigning confusion. "Do what?" "You know what I mean," Emily replied, taking a step forward. "You go out of your way to humiliate me, but you never stop to think about what it means." "Why? What do you get out of it?" For a moment, Amanda was silent. Emily saw something flicker across her face, a crack in the confident mask Amanda always wore. But it didn't last. "You're just so easy to provoke," Amanda said, retreating to her shield of sarcasm. "It's almost like you enjoy it." Emily didn't respond. She simply turned and walked away, feeling the tension hang in the air. Amanda had the power to be cruel. But for the first time, Emily realized that power only existed because she allowed it to. During lunch, Emily returned to the field behind the school. It was the only place where she felt she could think clearly. She sat on the cool grass and removed her wig, letting the chilly breeze brush against her bare scalp. It was strange, but at that moment, she didn't feel ashamed. She felt free. As she sat there, Emily heard footsteps. She turned quickly, expecting to see Amanda, but it wasn't her. It was a girl named Sarah, someone Emily barely knew, but who had never participated in the teasing. Sarah stopped a few steps away, hesitant. "Can I sit?" Sarah asked, gesturing to the spot next to Emily. Emily hesitated but nodded. Sarah sat down, staring at the horizon for a few moments before speaking. "I saw what happened yesterday, and all the other times too," she said quietly. "And I just want to say, I'm sorry. No one deserves that." Emily didn't know what to say. She was so used to being ignored or attacked that empathy felt foreign. "Thank you," she said finally, her throat tightening. "I've been a target of Amanda too," Sarah continued, pulling at the hem of her sweater as if to hide herself. "She's cruel because, well, I think it's the only way she knows how to feel in control." Emily stayed silent, processing the words. As much as she wanted to hate Amanda, something inside her recognized the truth in what Sarah was saying. That day, when Emily got home, she found Lily playing with her dolls on the living room floor. She sat down beside her sister, picking up one of the dolls and holding it in her lap. "Do you think I should tell people about you?" Emily asked, trying to sound casual. Lily looked up at her with curiosity. "Why do you want to tell them?" Maybe they'd understand why I am this way," Emily said, gesturing to her uncovered head. "Maybe it would make them stop." Lily thought for a moment before responding. "I think if you tell them, you'll show them you're stronger than they think, and that you have nothing to be ashamed of." Lily's words echoed in Emily's mind as she climbed the stairs to her room that night. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Maybe it was time to show the world who she really was and why she did all of this. On Monday, Emily walked into school with a mix of apprehension and determination. Something had shifted within her since her confrontation with Amanda in the field. Even though she didn't fully understand Amanda's apology, she had decided she would no longer let the bullying define her. Whatever Amanda did next was beyond her control, but how Emily responded wasn't. The hallways looked the same as ever, full of stares and muffled laughter. But this time, Emily held her head high. When Amanda walked past her with her usual entourage, Emily noticed something different. Amanda didn't make a comment, only casting a fleeting glance before continuing down the hall. It was unusual, but Emily didn't have time to decipher Amanda's intentions. She had an important history presentation to focus on. The calm didn't last long. During lunch, Emily was sitting in her usual corner when Amanda's voice echoed through the cafeteria. "Hey, everyone! Did you know our dear Emily has a big secret?" Amanda smirked but seemed hesitant, as if testing the waters. Emily froze. Her heart raced, but she took a deep breath, trying not to let the wave of emotion show. Amanda continued, gesturing dramatically to draw attention. "Maybe she's hiding something more interesting than just a bald head," she said, with a forced laugh. A few people chuckled, but others seemed uneasy. Emily noticed something different in Amanda's tone. It wasn't her usual cruel confidence. Before Amanda could say more, Emily stood up. The cafeteria fell silent. "You know what, Amanda?" Emily said, her voice firm and loud enough for everyone to hear. "You're right. I do have a secret, and I'm going to tell it, because I don't think you have the guts to." Amanda's mouth fell open, clearly caught off guard. Emily stepped forward, her heart pounding, but her resolve unwavering. "Yes, I wear a wig," she began, her voice shaky at first but gaining strength with each word. "But it's not because I want to. It's because I chose to do something for someone I love." The cafeteria was frozen. Emily could feel every eye on her, but for the first time, she didn't shrink away. "My sister has cancer," she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "She lost her hair because of chemotherapy. So I decided to shave mine too, so she wouldn't feel alone, so she wouldn't feel different." Whispers spread through the room, but Emily pressed on. "You can laugh. You can call me bald. But while you waste your energy trying to humiliate me, I spend mine trying to be a good sister, trying to do something that matters." Amanda stood frozen in the center of the cafeteria, her face pale. Her friends exchanged uneasy glances, clearly unsure how to react. For a moment, no one said anything. Emily grabbed her backpack and left the cafeteria, leaving the silence behind. At the end of the day, Emily found herself at the park near the school, sitting on the same swing where she had confronted Amanda before. She was exhausted but felt lighter. The weight of hiding the truth was gone, and although she knew the bullying wouldn't magically disappear, she felt she had taken back control of her own story. "Emily!" A familiar voice called. She turned to see Amanda walking toward her. This time, Amanda looked different. Without her group of friends, without her sarcastic smile, there was something almost vulnerable about her. I didn't know," Amanda said, stopping a few steps away. Emily stared at her, waiting for her to continue. "I didn't know about your sister, and I'm sorry. Really." Emily took a deep breath. Part of her wanted to scream, to accuse Amanda of everything she had done. But instead, she asked calmly, "Why do you do it, Amanda? Why do you hate me so much?" Amanda looked away, fidgeting with the hem of her jacket. "I don't hate you," she admitted. I don't know how to handle things. My mom, she pressures me all the time, says I have to be perfect, that I need to be better than everyone else." Her voice trembled. "So, I try to be funny, to be popular, but deep down, I'm just a mess." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Emily realized that, for the first time, Amanda was being honest. It didn't excuse what she had done, but it was a start. "I'm not going to forgive you overnight," Emily said finally. "But thank you for saying that." Amanda nodded, looking relieved. "If you need anything, if there's anything I can do to help your sister or whatever, let me know." Emily gave a small, cautious smile. That would be a good start. They sat in silence for a while, looking out at the empty park. The distance between them felt a little smaller, and although neither of them knew what would come next, both felt that something had changed for the better. The days following Emily's speech in the cafeteria brought unexpected changes. The school, which had once felt like a battleground, was now quieter. The whispers still lingered, but they were no longer as cruel. Many students looked at Emily with something resembling respect, while others seemed merely uncomfortable. Amanda, on the other hand, remained silent, keeping her distance from the group of friends who had always shadowed her. Emily still carried emotional scars from the past humiliations, but for the first time, she felt she was in control of her own story. That morning, as she entered school, she was surprised to find something she never expected: a carefully folded note left on her desk. She hesitated for a moment before opening it. The message, written in hurried handwriting, read, "Emily, I know words aren't enough to fix what I've done, but I want to try. I know I hurt you, and I can't undo that, but I want to change. For you and for myself. Amanda." Emily read and reread the words, trying to process how she felt. Part of her wanted to reject Amanda's attempt to make amends, but another part recognized the sincerity in her words. She decided that time would show if Amanda was truly willing to change. That afternoon, as Emily was leaving school, she saw Amanda waiting near the gates. Their eyes met, and Amanda gave a small, tentative gesture, as if asking for permission to approach. "Did you read the note?" Amanda asked, looking nervous. "I did," Emily replied calmly, "and I think it's a good start. But you understand it's going to take time, right?" "I do," Amanda said quickly. "I don't expect you to forgive me now, but I want to try to be a better person." Emily nodded. "Then start by showing me you mean it." Amanda looked relieved at her response, and the two walked together to the park. The conversation was brief but significant. Amanda talked a little about her tumultuous relationship with her mother and the constant pressure to excel. Emily, in turn, shared more about Lily and how her sister's battle with cancer had reshaped her perspective on life. The next morning, something surprising happened. During history class, Amanda raised her hand and asked for permission to speak in front of the class. The teacher, intrigued, allowed it. Amanda took a deep breath, visibly nervous, and began. "I know most of you know Emily as the bald girl," she started, her voice trembling. "And I was the main person responsible for that. I made jokes, I was cruel, and I used her pain as entertainment. But what none of you knew was the reason she shaved her head." The room was utterly silent, every eye fixed on Amanda. She continued, "Emily did it for her sister, who is fighting cancer. While I was mocking her, she was being braver than I've ever been." Amanda turned to look at Emily, and for the first time, there was genuine emotion in her eyes. "I want to apologize, not just to Emily, but to everyone who was affected by my behavior. I was wrong, and I'm trying to be a better person." When she finished, the room stayed silent for a moment before the teacher thanked her and resumed the lesson. Emily felt tears welling up in her eyes, but held them back. She knew Amanda was trying, and for the first time, she believed it could be sincere. After class, Emily was approached by some classmates who had previously joined in the teasing. Many of them apologized, while others simply offered words of support. While it didn't erase the past, Emily felt she was finally carving out a space for herself. When she got home that afternoon, she found Lily on the couch, coloring more drawings. "How was your day, Emily?" her sister asked without looking up from her paper. "It was good," Emily replied, sitting down beside her. "Actually, I think it was one of the best days I've had in a long time." Lily looked up at her sister and smiled. "I knew you were strong. I've always known." Emily laughed and pulled Lily into a tight hug. "And I've always known you're the bravest of us both." That night, Emily wrote in her journal for the first time in months. Her words weren't about pain or sadness, but about hope. Amanda was changing. Things at school were improving, and Lily continued to fight with a courage that inspired Emily to keep moving forward. For the first time, she felt that the future might hold something brighter. The next morning, Emily woke up with a lightness she hadn't felt in a long time. The past few days had been an emotional whirlwind, but they also signaled that things were finally starting to change. As she adjusted her wig in front of the mirror, she realized something inside her was different. It was no longer about hiding who she was. It was about showing her strength. At school, the hallways seemed less intimidating. Some classmates even waved at her, something that rarely happened before. While years of humiliation couldn't be erased in just a few days, Emily noticed that the weight of judgmental stares was beginning to lift. During English class, Mrs. Cooper announced a new assignment. Students would give a presentation about a personal story of overcoming challenges. Everyone would have to share something that inspired them or significantly shaped their lives. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She wasn't sure she was ready to share more of her story, but something inside her told her this might be the right opportunity. At lunch, Amanda approached Emily for the first time without hesitation. "Hey," she began, adjusting the strap of her backpack. "Are you going to do the presentation for Mrs. Cooper?" Emily studied Amanda, trying to read her intentions. "I'm not sure yet. Are you?" Amanda shrugged. "I'm thinking about talking about my mom, how she pressures me and how it makes me act in ways even I don't like." Emily could hear the vulnerability in Amanda's voice and, for the first time, felt she might be genuine. "I think that would be a good idea," Emily said, offering a small smile. Amanda returned the smile, looking relieved. "Thanks. And if you need help with whatever you decide to share, let me know." Emily was surprised but nodded. "I'll think about it." That afternoon at home, Emily found Lily curled up on the couch under a blanket, their dog snoozing beside her. "Hey, Lil," Emily said, sitting down next to her sister. "At school, we were assigned to give a presentation about something important to us. What do you think I should talk about?" Lily looked up with a mischievous grin. "About me, of course," she said, laughing. Then her expression grew serious. "Talk about what you did for me, about how you make me feel like I'm never alone." Emily felt tears well up but laughed instead. "You always know exactly what to say, don't you?" Lily simply nodded, pleased with herself. The next day, Emily made her decision. During English class, when Mrs. Cooper asked for volunteers to go first, Emily raised her hand. Amanda's eyes widened in surprise, but Emily just took a deep breath and walked to the front of the room. "My story is about my sister," she began, looking at the attentive faces of her classmates. "She has cancer and is the bravest person I know. When she started losing her hair, I decided to shave mine too, so she wouldn't feel different or alone." The words came more easily than she expected. Emily talked about Lily, the sleepless nights at the hospital, and the laughter they shared despite the hardships. Finally, she spoke about the bullying she had endured and how it had made her feel invisible. "But thanks to my sister, I realized I don't need to hide who I am. I don't need to be ashamed of anything because what matters is what we do for others, not what others think of us." When she finished, the room was silent. Mrs. Cooper was the first to speak, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for sharing that, Emily. You're stronger than you know." The class broke into applause, soft at first, then more enthusiastic. Emily glanced at Amanda, who was clapping along with a small, encouraging smile. It was a moment Emily knew she would never forget. That afternoon, when Emily got home, she felt proud, not just for sharing her story, but for finally taking control of it. That night, when she went to say goodnight to Lily, she found her sister holding a drawing she had made. On the paper were two figures holding hands, both bald and smiling. "That's me and you," Lily said, handing Emily the drawing. "Because we're stronger together." Emily held the drawing as if it were a treasure. She hugged Lily tightly and whispered, "You're my biggest inspiration, Lil. Thank you for everything." As Emily lay in bed that night, she realized that, despite all the challenges, she had found something precious: the power of empathy, the value of her own strength, and the meaning of never giving up. Spring had arrived in New Jersey, bringing fresh air and promises of renewal. For Emily, the season symbolized more than blooming flowers. It was a reflection of how she felt inside. The school, once a place of pain and fear, was transforming into something different. It wasn't perfect, but she no longer walked through the hallways with her head down. Instead, she faced the world head-on, proud of who she was. That morning, Emily stood in front of the mirror, holding her wig. After her speech in English class and the weeks of change that followed, she had started going without the wig in certain places, especially when she was with Lily. Today, however, she decided she wouldn't wear it to school. "It's time," she murmured to herself. When she stepped into Lincoln High, the sounds of the hallways hadn't changed. Students chatted, laughed, and rushed to avoid the first bell. But this time, the looks directed at Emily weren't mocking. They were curious, yes, but also respectful. Amanda, who was talking with a few classmates near the lockers, noticed Emily and smiled. A genuine smile, unlike the sarcastic smirks of the past. Emily returned the gesture with a small nod. During lunch, Amanda approached the table where Emily was sitting. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Can I sit here?" Emily looked at her, assessing the situation. Finally, she nodded. "Sure." Amanda sat down, adjusting her lunch tray in front of her. "I wanted to thank you," she began, fiddling with her fork, "for giving me a chance to change. I know what I did was terrible, but you showed me I could be better." Emily shrugged. "I didn't do it for you, Amanda. I did it for me. But I'm glad it helped you in some way." The two talked for a few more minutes. They weren't friends. There was still a lot to rebuild. But something new had started between them, a foundation of respect and perhaps understanding. After school, Emily rushed home, where she found Lily playing in the backyard. Her sister was excited, her face glowing in the afternoon sun. "Emily, look what I learned," Lily shouted, showing off a small dance move she had made up. Emily laughed and clapped, sitting on the grass beside her. "You're getting better and better. Soon you'll have to teach me how to dance." "You're already perfect just the way you are," Lily replied, hugging her tightly. Emily felt the warmth of her sister's words and realized how much that little girl had shaped her strength. Everything she had endured at school, all the bullying and humiliation, had been overcome because of Lily's inspiration. Now, Emily knew it was her turn to inspire others. That evening, Emily's family went to the hospital for one of Lily's checkups. The news was good. The treatments were working, and Lily's health was improving. The doctor even suggested that she might soon be able to resume her normal activities. As they left the hospital, Emily held Lily's hand and looked at her with a smile. "You're the strongest person I know, Lil." "You are too," Lily replied. "We're a team." The next day, Emily returned to school with a new mission. She signed up to volunteer for the school's support club, helping other students who faced challenges like hers. At the first meeting, she shared her story, not with shame, but with pride. "I've learned that empathy can change everything," she told the other volunteers, "and that even in the worst situations, there's always a way to find strength and inspiration." Amanda, sitting quietly at the back of the room, listened to every word, visibly moved. When the meeting ended, she approached Emily. "You're incredible," Amanda said simply. "I'm just me," Emily replied with a smile. "But thank you." A few weeks later, on a sunny morning, Emily and Lily decided to do something special. The two went to a photography studio to capture what they called the start of a new chapter. Emily took the photos without her wig, while Lily wore a colorful scarf. Each picture radiated smiles and a sense of triumph. The final photo was taken as they laughed together, arms wrapped around each other. When Emily looked at the result, she realized something. She was no longer the fragile girl who used to hide. She was someone strong, resilient, and full of love. In that moment, she knew that no matter what lay ahead, she and Lily would face it together, and they would win.